Marcus Thompson looked at the clock on his phone and felt his heart sink. It was already 4:30 in the afternoon, and he still had so much to do. His daughter Emma would be waiting for him at the after-school program, probably sitting by the window, and watching for his old pickup truck. She always did that when he was late. Marcus hated being late, but these days it seemed like he was always running behind. He walked quickly through the grocery store, pushing his cart down the aisles. His work boots made squeaking sounds on the clean floor. Other shoppers moved slowly, taking their time to read labels and compare prices. Marcus did not have that luxury. He grabbed a box of mac and cheese, some frozen chicken nuggets, and a bag of apples. It was not the healthiest dinner, but it was fast and easy. Emma liked mac and cheese anyway. The grocery store was busy with people getting off work. Marcus saw families shopping together, mothers and fathers picking out vegetables while their children asked for candy. He remembered when he used to shop, like that with Sarah and baby Emma. Sarah always made a list and stuck to it. She bought fresh vegetables and made meals from scratch. Marcus tried to do the same thing after she died, but cooking took too much time. Marcus worked at Joe's auto repair shop on the other side of town. He had been there for 8 years, even before Emma was born. Joe was a good boss who understood that Marcus had a little girl to take care of. But the shop was busy, and Marcus often worked 10 or 12 hours a day just to pay the bills. Small apartment cost $800 a month. Emma's after-school care was another $300. Then there was food, clothes, and all the other things a 6-year-old needed. Sarah used to handle all of that. She was good with money and planning. She had a job at the bank and made more money than Marcus did. Together, they were okay. Were not rich, but they had enough. Sarah always said they were building something together, making a life for their family. She had big dreams about buying a house with a yard where Emma could play. But Sarah was gone now. It had been 2 years since the accident. 2 years since that awful phone call from the park ranger telling him that his wife had fallen during a hiking trip with her friend. 2 years since his world fell apart. Marcus still had trouble believing she was really gone. Sometimes he would wake up in the morning and reach for her side of the bed. Sometimes he would start to call her when something funny happened at work. The pain was still there, sitting heavy in his chest like a rock. The worst part was not just losing Sarah. It was losing her family too. Sarah had a sister named Elizabeth who lived far away in some big city. Marcus had only met her a few times during their marriage. Elizabeth was older than Sarah and very successful in business. She always seemed busy and important when she visited. At Sarah and Marcus's wedding, Elizabeth gave a nice speech, but left early for a work meeting. After Sarah's funeral, Elizabeth disappeared. She sent a sympathy card and some flowers, but that was all. Marcus had hoped she might want to be part of Emma's life. Emma was her only niece, after all. But Elizabeth never called or visited. Marcus tried calling her a few times, but she never called back. Eventually, he stopped trying. Maybe successful people like Elizabeth did not have time for ordinary families. Like his, Marcus picked up a gallon of milk and added it to his cart. The store was getting more crowded as people stopped on their way home from work. He checked his phone again. 4:45. Emma's after-school program closed at 6 o'clock, and they charged $5 for every minute you were late. Marcus had learned that the hard way. He thought about Emma waiting for him. She was such a good kid, patient and understanding even. When things were hard, she looked exactly like Sarah with her dark hair and brown eyes. Sometimes Marcus would catch Emma making the same expressions Sarah used to make, and it would take his breath away. Emma was smart like her mother, too. She loved to read and draw pictures. Her teacher said she was doing great in first grade, but Marcus worried about her. She needed things he could not give her. She needed a mother's touch, someone to braid her hair and teach her about girl things. She needed family dinners and bedtime stories every night. Instead, she got a tired father who worked too much and served dinner from boxes. Marcus tried his best, but he knew it was not enough. The rain started as Marcus stood in the checkout line. First, just a few drops on the big windows at the front of the store, then more. By the time he paid for his groceries and loaded them into his truck, the rain was coming down hard. The sky had turned dark gray, and the wind was picking up. It looked like a bad storm was coming. Marcus drove carefully through town toward Emma's school. The rain was making it hard to see, and other drivers were going slow too. He turned on the radio to check if there were any weather warnings. The announcer was talking about severe thunderstorms moving through the area. Drivers should use extra caution, the man said. Roads may become slippery and dangerous. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter and kept driving. He just wanted to get to Emma and then get home safely. It had been a long day, and he was tired. Tomorrow would be another long day just like this one. Sometimes Marcus wondered if this was all there was, worrying about money, trying to be both mother and father to Emma. He missed Sarah more than ever on days like this. She would have known what to make for dinner. She would have picked up Emma on time. She would have made everything easier and better, the way she always did. But Sarah was gone. Marcus was alone with all of it. The rain got heavier as he drove down the highway toward Emma's school. Marcus had no idea that in just a few minutes, his whole life was about to change. The storm got worse fast. What started as regular rain turned into something scary. Marcus could barely see the road in front of him. His windshield wipers were working as fast as they could, but the water kept coming down harder. The wind was so strong, it made his old pickup truck shake. Marcus slowed down and turned on his emergency lights. Other cars on the highway were doing the same thing. Everyone was driving very slowly and carefully. The radio was now giving serious weather warnings. "This is a dangerous storm," the announcer said. "All drivers should find a safe place too. Stop if possible." But Marcus could not stop. Emma was waiting for him at school. The after-school program would be worried if parents did not pick up their kids during bad weather. Marcus had to keep going. He gripped the steering wheel with both hands and focused on the red taillights of the car in front of him. The rain was so loud on the roof, spirit of his truck, that Marcus could barely hear the radio anymore. Water was running across the road like small rivers. His truck's old tires were not great in weather like this, but they were all he had. Marcus said a small prayer that he would make it to Emma safely. Then he saw something that made his heart stop. About a quarter mile ahead, Marcus saw a flash of silver. At first, he thought it was lightning reflecting off something. But as he got closer, he realized it was a car. A big, expensive-looking silver car was spinning out of control on the wet road. Marcus watched in horror as the silver car slid sideways across both lanes of the highway. The driver was trying to control it, but the car was moving too fast on the slippery road. Time seemed to slow down as Marcus saw what was going to happen. The silver car hit the metal guardrail on the right side of the road. There was a loud crash and the sound of metal bending. But the guardrail did not stop the car. Instead, the car flipped over the guardrail and rolled down into the deep ditch beside the highway. Marcus immediately pulled his truck over to the side of the road. His hands were shaking as he turned on his hazard lights and grabbed his cell phone. He dialed 911 as he ran toward the crash site. 911, what is your emergency?" the operator asked. "There's been a bad car accident on Highway 35, about 2 miles south of the Mill Road exit," Marcus said, breathing hard as he ran. A car flipped into the ditch. "I think someone might be hurt bad. We're sending help right away," the operator said. "Don't put yourself in danger." But Marcus was already climbing over the guardrail. The ditch was steep and muddy from all the rain. His work boots slipped on the wet grass, but he kept going. He could see the silver car at the bottom of the ditch. It was upside down, and steam was coming from under the hood. The smell hit him first. Gasoline. Marcus knew that smell from working at the auto shop. If there was gasoline leaking, the car could catch fire. He had to hurry. Marcus slid down the muddy hill to the car. The driver's side was smashed pretty bad, but he could see someone inside. It was a woman hanging upside down from her seatbelt. She was not moving. "Hey, can you hear me?" Marcus shouted over the sound of the rain. The woman did not answer. Marcus could see blood on her forehead. She was unconscious. The passenger door was less damaged than the driver's side. Marcus tried to open it, but it was stuck. The metal was bent from the crash. Marcus pulled as hard as he could, but it would not budge. He looked around and found a big rock. Using the rock, he broke the passenger window. Glass fell everywhere. But now he could reach inside the car. The smell of gasoline was getting stronger. Marcus carefully climbed halfway into the upside-down car. The woman was wearing a nice business suit that was now torn and dirty. She looked like she was probably in her 30s, with dark hair that reminded Marcus of someone. But he could not think about that now. "Come on, lady, I'm going to get you out of here," Marcus said, even though she could not hear him. He felt for a pulse on her neck. It was there, steady but weak. She was alive. The seatbelt was stuck. Marcus pulled and twisted, but it would not come loose. The metal part was jammed from the impact. Marcus took out his pocket knife and carefully cut through the belt. As soon as the seatbelt was cut, the woman's body started to fall. Marcus caught her, trying to be gentle but knowing he had to move fast. She was lighter than he expected, but it was hard to move her through the broken window while being careful not to hurt her more. Finally, Marcus got the woman out of the car. He carried her up the muddy hill, away from the gasoline smell. His clothes were soaked from the rain and covered in mud, but he did not care. The woman was breathing, but she was still unconscious. Blood was still coming from the cut on her head. Marcus took off his work jacket and put it over the woman to keep her warm. He used his shirt to try to stop the bleeding from her head wound. The rain was still coming down hard, but at least they were away from the car. In the distance, Marcus could hear sirens. The ambulance and fire truck were coming. He had done all he could do. Now he just had to wait and hope the woman would be okay. As Marcus sat in the rain holding the unconscious woman, looked at her face more carefully. There was something familiar about her, something that made him feel strange. But he could not figure out what it was. The sirens were getting louder. Help was almost there. The ambulance took the woman to St. Mary's Hospital in town. Marcus followed in his truck, still worried about her. He had called his neighbor Mrs. Garcia to pick up Emma from school. Mrs. Garcia was an older lady who lived next door, and sometimes helped Marcus when he needed it. She understood that sometimes emergencies happened. At the hospital, Marcus sat in the waiting room. His clothes were still muddy and wet from the rescue. Other people in the waiting room looked at him strangely, but he did not care. He just wanted to know if the woman was okay. A doctor came out after 2 hours. It was a young man with kind eyes who looked tired. "Are you the man who pulled her from the car?" the doctor asked. "Yes, sir. Is she going to be okay?" Marcus stood up quickly. "She's alive because of you," the doctor said. "She has a concussion and some cuts, but nothing that won't heal. However, she's having some memory problems. That's normal with head injuries, but it might take time for her memory to come back." "Can I see her?" Marcus asked. "I just want to. Make sure she's really okay." The doctor looked at Marcus for a moment. "Actually, that might help. When she woke up, she seemed scared and confused. But when we told her about the man who saved her, she calmed down. She asked to see you." Marcus walked into the hospital room quietly. The woman was awake now, sitting up in bed. Someone had cleaned the blood from her face and bandaged the cut on her forehead. She looked much better, but her eyes seemed confused and frightened. "Hi," Marcus said softly. "I'm Marcus. I'm the one who helped you at the accident." The woman looked at him carefully. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was quiet and a little shaky. "The doctors told me what you did. You saved my life. How are you feeling?" Marcus asked. "Confused," she said honestly. "I remember driving in the rain, and then nothing until I woke up here. The doctors say I might not remember things for a while. They found a business card in my purse that says my name is Elizabeth Chen, but I don't really remember being Elizabeth Chen, if that makes sense." Marcus pulled a chair next to her bed. "The doctors say memory problems are normal after accidents like yours? It will probably come back slowly." Elizabeth nodded. "It's scary not remembering who you are, but for some reason, talking to you makes me feel less scared." Marcus visited Elizabeth every day for the next week. He would stop by after work and before picking up Emma. Elizabeth's memory was coming back in small pieces. She remembered that she lived in a big city and had some kind of business job, but she could not remember details about her family or her past. The hospital staff was surprised that Marcus kept visiting. Most people would have left after making sure the accident victim was okay. But Marcus felt responsible for Elizabeth. Somehow, maybe it was because he had pulled her from that car, or maybe it was because she seemed so alone. "Don't you have a family to go home to?" Elizabeth asked one evening. "I have a daughter," Marcus said. "Her name is Emma. She's 6 years old." "What about your wife?" Elizabeth asked. Marcus was quiet for a moment. "My wife died 2 years ago. It's just me and Emma now." "I'm sorry," Elizabeth said. "It must be very hard." "Some days are harder than others," Marcus said. "But Emma makes everything worth it." Elizabeth smiled. "She sounds wonderful. I wish I could meet her." The next day, Marcus brought Emma to visit. Emma was shy at first, but Elizabeth was so kind and gentle that Emma warmed up to her quickly. Elizabeth asked Emma about school and her drawings. When Emma showed her a picture she had drawn of a princess, Elizabeth clapped her hands and said it was the most beautiful princess she had ever seen. "I like her, Daddy," Emma whispered to Marcus as they were leaving. "She's nice. Like Mommy was." Marcus felt a strange feeling in his chest when Emma said that. There was something about Elizabeth that reminded him of Sarah, too. But he could not figure out what it was. Elizabeth insisted on paying Marcus for the time he was taking off work to visit her. Marcus did not want to take her money, but Elizabeth was very firm about it. "You saved my life," she said. "The least I can do is make sure you don't lose money because of it." Marcus learned that Elizabeth had excellent health insurance and was staying in the nicest part of the hospital. She had her own room with a view of the park. Expensive doctors came to check on her. Whatever job Elizabeth had, it must have been very good. But despite obviously having money, Elizabeth was not snobby or mean like some rich people Marcus had met. She was interested in his simple life. She asked about his job at the auto shop and about Emma's school. She seemed to really care about their answers. "I feel like I should remember having friends and family," Elizabeth said one afternoon. "But when I try to think about it, there's just emptiness. It's like I was living my life all alone." "Maybe when your memory comes back, you'll remember people who care about you," Marcus said. "Maybe," Elizabeth said. "But right now, you and Emma are the only people who feel real to me." Marcus did not know what to say to that. He was starting to care about Elizabeth too, which scared him. He had not felt anything like that since Sarah died. By the second week, Elizabeth's memory was getting better. She remembered more about her job and her life in the city. She was some kind of technology businesswoman who owned her own company. She had offices in several cities and traveled a lot. "For work, I remember being in meetings and making big decisions," Elizabeth told Marcus. "But I still can't remember if I have any family. It's like that part of my brain is still locked away." Elizabeth was getting ready to leave the hospital soon. The doctors said she was healing well and could go home. But Elizabeth seemed worried. "About something?" "I don't want to go back to the city yet," she told Marcus. "I know I have an apartment there and a business to run. But this place feels more like home than anywhere I can remember." Marcus understood what she meant. Past 2 weeks, Elizabeth had become part of his and Emma's daily routine. Emma looked forward to their hospital visits. She would bring Elizabeth drawings and tell her about her day at school. Elizabeth always listened carefully and asked good questions. Marcus found himself looking forward to seeing Elizabeth too. She was easy to talk to and seemed genuinely interested in his life. When he told her about problems at work or worries about Emma, Elizabeth listened without judging. She gave good advice that showed she was very smart. "Why don't you stay in town for a while longer?" Marcus suggested. "You could rent a place here while you finish recovering." Elizabeth's face lit up. "Do you think that would be okay?" "I don't." "Want to be a burden to you and Emma?" "You're not a burden," Marcus said. "Emma loves having you around. And honestly, so do I." Elizabeth found a nice hotel in town and extended her stay. Marcus learned that money was not a problem for Elizabeth at all. She seemed to have unlimited resources. She could afford the best doctors, the nicest hotel room, and anything else she wanted. But Elizabeth was not like other rich people Marcus had known. She did not act like she was better than everyone else. When Marcus took her to the local diner for lunch, she was genuinely excited to try the homemade pie. When Emma wanted to show her the playground at school, Elizabeth sat on the swings and laughed like a little kid. I have this feeling that I used to be very serious all the time, Elizabeth told Marcus one day. Like I was always working and never having fun. Being here with you and Emma feels different. It feels right. Marcus was starting to have feelings for Elizabeth that confused him. She was beautiful and smart and kind. Emma adored her. But Marcus felt guilty about having these feelings. It had only been 2 years since Sarah died. Was it wrong to care about someone else so soon? Elizabeth seemed to have similar feelings. Marcus would catch her looking at him sometimes with an expression he could not read. When their hands accidentally touched, both of them would pull away. Quickly, but neither seemed to want to. One evening, Elizabeth had dinner at Marcus and Emma's apartment. It was nothing fancy, just spaghetti and salad, but Elizabeth acted like it was the best meal she had ever had. "This is perfect," she said, watching Emma tell a story about her friend at school. "This is what a family dinner should feel like." After Emma went to bed, Marcus and Elizabeth sat on the couch talking. Elizabeth was wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of her usual business clothes. She looked younger and more relaxed. "Can I ask you something?" Elizabeth said. "Of course. Do you think your wife would be okay with me being here? I know this sounds strange, but sometimes I feel like she's watching us. Like she approves somehow." Marcus was surprised by the question. "I think Sarah would want Emma and me to be happy. She would want us to have people in our lives who care about us." "I do care about you," Elizabeth said softly. "Both of you. More than I should, probably." Marcus looked at her carefully. "Why more than you should?" "Because I still don't remember everything about my past. What if I remember something that changes everything? What if I have a family somewhere that I've forgotten about? Then we'll deal with it when it happens," Marcus said. "But right now, you're here with us. That's what matters." Elizabeth had been having strange dreams lately. Dreams about a woman who looked like her, but older. In the dreams, they were arguing about something. The woman was crying and saying goodbye. Elizabeth always woke up from these dreams feeling sad and confused. "I think the woman in my dreams might be my sister," Elizabeth told Marcus. "But I can't remember having a sister." Marcus felt a strange chill when Elizabeth said that. Something about her dreams sounded familiar, but he could not place why. Elizabeth's business assistant had been calling her every day, asking when she would return to work. Elizabeth's company was apparently very successful and needed her to make important decisions. But Elizabeth kept putting off going back. "My whole life is in that city," she told Marcus. "But I don't feel connected to it anymore. It's like that. Life belonged to someone else." "Maybe this accident was a chance for you to start over," Marcus suggested. "Maybe you can build a new life that makes you happier." "Is there room in that new life for you and Emma?" Elizabeth asked. Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. "If that's what you want?" "It's what I want more than anything," Elizabeth said. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning 3 weeks after the accident. Elizabeth had been staying in town and spending most of her time with Marcus and Emma. She was supposed to have one last checkup with the doctor before deciding whether to go back to her old life or start a new one. Elizabeth woke up that morning and immediately knew something was different. The fog in her mind was gone. All the memories that had been locked away came flooding back at once. She remembered everything: her successful technology company, her penthouse apartment in Seattle, her busy life of business meetings and travel, and she remembered Sarah. Elizabeth sat on the edge of her hotel bed, shaking as the memories hit her. Sarah, her younger sister, who had always been the sweet, caring one, while Elizabeth was the ambitious businesswoman. Sarah, who had married a mechanic named Marcus Thompson and moved to this small town. Sarah, who had died in a hiking accident 2 years ago while Elizabeth was too busy with work to visit. Elizabeth remembered the phone call about Sarah's death. She remembered flying in for the funeral and seeing Marcus there with little Emma, both of them heartbroken and lost. She remembered wanting to help them but not knowing how. She remembered leaving after the funeral and telling herself she would call Marcus soon to check on them, but she never did call. Work got busy again. Months passed, then a year, then 2 years. Elizabeth had always meant to reach out to her brother-in-law and niece, but she kept putting it off. She was scared that too much time had passed, that they would not want her in their lives anymore. Finally, 3 weeks ago, Elizabeth had decided to drive to Marcus's town to surprise them. She was going to apologize for staying away so long and ask if she could be part of their family. She had been driving through the storm, nervous about seeing them again, when the accident happened. The man who saved her life was Marcus, her own brother-in-law. The little girl who had been visiting her in the hospital was Emma, her niece. They had no idea who she really was. Elizabeth started crying and could not stop. She had been so close to them for 3 weeks, and they did not know she was family. Marcus had been taking care of her, and Emma had been drawing her pictures, and neither of them knew she was Sarah's sister. Elizabeth called Marcus right away. Her hands were shaking as she dialed his number. "Elizabeth, are you okay? You sound upset," Marcus said when he answered. "Marcus, I need to see you right away. Can you come to my hotel? Bring Emma, if she's not in school, of course. We'll be right there." When Marcus and Emma arrived at Elizabeth's hotel room, they found her sitting on the couch with tears streaming down her face. Emma ran to her immediately. "Miss Elizabeth, why are you crying?" Emma asked, hugging her. Elizabeth looked at Marcus and Emma, these two people she had grown to love so much. Now she had to tell them the truth and hope they would not hate her for staying away so long. "I remember everything now," Elizabeth said quietly. "I remember who I am and why I was driving through town that day." Marcus sat down across from her. "That's good news, isn't it? Your memory came back?" Elizabeth took a deep breath. "Marcus, my full name is Elizabeth Chen Thompson. I took back my maiden name after my divorce years ago. But I used to be Elizabeth Thompson." Marcus looked confused. "Thompson is my last name too. That's a strange coincidence." "It's not a coincidence," Elizabeth said, her voice breaking. "Marcus, I'm Sarah's sister. I'm Emma's aunt. You saved your sister-in-law's life and you didn't even know it." The room went completely silent. Marcus stared at Elizabeth like he could not understand what she had said. Emma looked back and forth between the adults, sensing something important was happening. "Sarah's sister?" Marcus whispered. "But Sarah's sister lives far away. Sarah's sister never. After the funeral, she disappeared," Elizabeth finished. She was too scared and too proud to stay in touch. She threw herself into work and told herself she would call later. But later never came. Marcus stood up and walked to the window. His hands were shaking. "You're Elizabeth. Sarah's Elizabeth. Dad, you talked about you all the time. She missed you so much." "Daddy?" Emma said quietly. "Sister," Marcus turned around and looked at his daughter. "Yes, Emma. Miss Elizabeth is your Aunt Elizabeth. She's Mommy's sister." Emma's eyes got very wide. Then she smiled the biggest smile Marcus had ever seen. "I have an aunt. Mommy's sister is my aunt." Emma ran to Elizabeth and hugged her as tight as she could. "I always wanted to meet you. Mommy showed me pictures and told me stories about you." Elizabeth held Emma close and cried even harder. "I wanted to meet you too, sweetheart. I should have come sooner. I should have been here for you and your daddy after Mommy died." Marcus came back and sat down. His eyes were full of tears, too. "Why didn't you tell us who you were when you woke up in the hospital?" "I couldn't remember," Elizabeth said. "The head injury took away my memories for weeks. By the time I started remembering pieces, I was too scared to say anything. I thought you would be angry that I had stayed away so long." "Are you angry, Daddy?" Emma asked. Marcus looked at Elizabeth, this woman who had been Sarah's sister all along, the woman he had rescued from a car wreck, the woman he had been falling in love with. "Sarah's sister. I'm not angry," Marcus said finally. "Grateful. Sarah always said that everything happens for a reason. Maybe she sent you to us. Maybe this was her way of bringing her family back together." Elizabeth reached out and took Marcus's hand. "I was coming to find you that day. I was finally ready to apologize and ask if I could be part of your lives. I was so nervous about seeing you again." "You never had to be nervous," Marcus said. "Your family. You were always family." Emma was bouncing up and down with excitement. "Does this mean Aunt Elizabeth can stay with us forever?" Elizabeth and Marcus looked at each other. Everything was different now, but somehow everything felt right too. "If your daddy says it's okay," Elizabeth said. Marcus smiled through his tears. "Welcome home, Elizabeth. Welcome to your family." For the first time in 2 years, Marcus felt like his family was complete again. Sarah was gone, but she had sent them her sister. The accident that could have killed Elizabeth had instead brought all of them home to each other. Emma had her aunt, Marcus had his sister-in-law and friend, and Elizabeth finally had the family she had been too afraid to claim. Sarah would have been so happy to see them all together.